born in Austria, was educated at New York University. As one of the most published science educators, his work focused on the young. Among his countless achievements are Senior Vice President of Harcourt Brace Jovanovich, Director of Education for the Conservation Foundation, Director of Education of the Pinchot Institute for Conservation Studies, and founding trustee of the Pocono Environmental Education Center, or PEAC. It is this relationship with PEAC that led to the development of the F-Brandwein Institute in 1996. One component of the institute, the Rutgers Creek Wildlife Conservancy of the Brandwein-Moorholt Trust, transforms the lands around Paul and Mary Brandwein's home and the Moorholt residence into a living laboratory for learners of every age and background. Jack Padalino, president of PEAC, spoke with Mary Brandwein at her Greenville, New York home in the fall of 1997 about the Rutgers Creek Conservancy.
Mary, how was it that you and Paul came to this very special place?
I do remember that he took a class on a field trip, and somehow they got onto this back road. And while they were here, Paul noticed this broken down farmhouse for sale. The broker then took us to this place, showed us the forest, the house, and the stream, which that was the thing that got us because it was so beautiful. We liked the idea of all this land and we bought it. We felt that there were many things to do here and we did them. In the meantime, one of the farmers came over to see us, and he said he'd like to use our fields for pasturage. In return, he said he would take out the decayed apple trees. We agreed. A short time later, he came over and he said he'd like to use our back fields for corn. And he said for that he would take out all the stones, which were every which way, and we agreed.
Mary, inasmuch as Paul has had a profound influence on schooling and education in this country, this property has a historical connection to schooling and education within this region, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. We had an old schoolhouse on this property, a one-room schoolhouse, an old one. And of all the teachers who taught there, the most illustrious, of course, was Amy Bull Christ, who taught in that schoolhouse, and she eventually became the superintendent of schools in Orange County.
As I notice in walking in the gardens that I get a sense it's like an arboretum.
Jack, that's what he's always wanted for the house, was an arboretum. In fact, every shrub and every tree, every plant was organized and put in through Paul's vision.
Mary, what was your and Paul's vision for the Conservancy?
Well, Jack, we had a trust, and I think that that spells all the things we wanted to say in there. And if you don't mind, I'd like to read from that. The specific purposes of the Brandwein-Moorholt Trust shall be to provide a means for the perpetual benefit of the general populace through ownership and appropriate utilization of the sciences and technologies of conservation, as well the conservation of such ecosystems, habitats, and niches, and their constituent flora and fauna as exist within a planned conservancy, thus forming a clearly delineated ecosystem available for teaching and experimental study of the limnology of the area.
Throughout the years, it is Paul and Mary's stewardship of these lands and their love for people and the joys of learning that form the impetus behind the Rutgers Creek Conservancy and the Brandwein Institute.
We never dreamed in our wildest dreams that this would ever happen, and it only happened recently. We did it as a passion and a challenge because we felt we wanted to do it.
If science is experience in search of meaning. Then children can have experiences in the classroom from which they can get meaning. But scientists, they create the experiences from which one gets meaning. Science is the business of knowing how the world works. And any question in which you're willing to find out what's not true is science.